Hello, welcome. Greetings in examining this introductory problem for Chapter 6, which is a bank reconciliation. The problem is 621A, and that's on page 343. And this bank reconciliation and adjustments for an account says the following information is available for Cooter's Garage for March 2013. It's got the bank statement from Hazard State Bank in Hazard, Georgia, and it has the beginning balance and the total deposits. It has all the checks. It has all the deposits that are there, and it says the following lists of checks and deposits were recorded in the general ledger cash account for Cooter's Garage. And so it's got March 1st through the 28th. Then it's got the check numbers 1463 through 70. It's got the amount of the checks. It's got the date that they cleared the bank, and they've got the amount of any deposits that were made. So as we look at these, and those dates might actually be for the deposits. So then as we look at this information, we see that check number 1462 was outstanding from February, so we'll have to look for that. A credit memo for collection of an accounts receivable was included in the bank statement. All checks were paid in the correct amount. The bank statement included a debit memorandum for a service charge. February 28th, the bank reconciliation showed a deposit in transit of $1,000, and check number 1468 was for the purchase of equipment, and the unadjusted cash balance at March 31st, that means the general ledger cash balance, was $16,868. It asks us to prepare a bank reconciliation and to prepare general ledger accounts. So as we look over here at the bank reconciliation, notice that we have the problem, we have the name of the business, get it up there for you. Notice the bank reconciliation and the date. That's how all schedules are set up. And the unadjusted bank balance for March 31st was $16,000. So if you look up here at the bank statement at the top of the problem, and it says ending balance 3/31, $16,000. That's where that amount is coming from. So we would put that in here first. Now we want to look for the next thing is deposits in transit, and we want to add deposits in transit because those are deposits that are in our general ledger account, but they've not reached the bank by the time the bank printed this bank statement to send out to us. So when we look here at deposits, notice that on March 29th there was a $2,000 deposit, and that one was not in here for the bank statement just above it. So when we look at the deposits from the bank statement just above, it ends at $75. The $1,480 is in there, the $1,480, it's in there, but the $2,000 is not in the bank statement. So we will be adding the $2,000 right here, add deposits in transit, $2,000. Deposits that are in the general ledger account but were not received at the bank by the time the bank statement was prepared. The next thing we do is we look for the outstanding checks. So it says here that a check 1462 was outstanding from February, and we're looking to see if 1462 came in this month. So when we look at these in the bank statement, it's the very first check. So it was cleared. It's fine. So we have 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67. We have a debit memorandum. We have 68, check number 68. So that was the last check that cleared the bank, was check 1468. But when we look at the bank, at the general ledger cash account, check number 1469 and 1470 had both been written. So they were both outstanding checks, and they're going to come right over here into this outstanding check, the two numbers and the two amounts, $1,500 and $102 for a subtraction. It's a less, $1,602 that we see right here in the less outstanding checks. Now that's the only changes that we have. So the true balance that we're going to try to reconcile to is $16,398. 16,000 plus 2 is 18,000 minus 1,600 is 16,398. Now then we have the unadjusted book balance. When we look over here in the general ledger cash account, the general ledger cash account, it says had 16,000 on number 7, event 7, $16,868. $16,868. So we put that right in there for the unadjusted amount. So here's the unadjusted book balance, as the book balance being the amount that was in the general ledger of the company's books, $16,868. So now we're going to look for additions that they had, the bank told us about, and subtractions that the bank told us about. So the first addition that they tell us about was that there was a credit memorandum for $175 that was collected on our behalf. So as we look at the credit memorandums, they're under the bank statement at the top, they're under deposits, and it says CM right there at the bottom, $175. So they collected a credit memorandum for us of $175, and it says a credit memorandum for accounts receivable. So we're going to add credit memorandum for accounts receivable right here, and that's $175. It's a collection. They've already put it in our checking account, and we need to add it back into our checking account. Now then, we're looking for amounts that need then after that to be subtracted. So what needs to be subtracted? Well, there was an error, and it says that when we look at check, what was it, 1468. So 1468 in our book is written for $70, but 1468 cleared for $700. So 1468, the last check that cleared the bank, was for $700, but when we entered it, we only entered it for $70. So we need to charge our account $630 more. So the correction of that is going to be less, an error in recording check 1468, which we can see it cleared the bank $700. It was entered in our records for $70. So we're going to add, we're going to take away $630 right here for that error, for that mistake. And then this DM up here in the list of checks, a debit memorandum, $15. So the debit memorandum was for our service charge. So we'll put debit memorandum for service charge, and we'll put $15. So we're going to reduce the account by $645. That's the total of these two lesses or reductions. So $16,868 plus $175 minus $645 gives us $16,398. So you can just begin to see how we go through the records and we actually look to see that all the checks were cleared and they were cleared for the correct amount, and that the deposits were entered for the correct amount. Then we hold on to that information and we just begin to go through this systematically, doing the book, the bank balance first, and deposits in transit and outstanding checks to get an adjusted bank balance, and then the unadjusted book balance, general ledger book balance, and then the changes from that. Now remember, these two numbers have to equal, so that's what they're calling the true cash. The true cash number is really $16,398. And so now we write general journal entries for all these transactions that are down here under the adjusted book balance. So any changes to the general ledger, we have to record those as journal entries. So the first one is an add, so cash is going up. So we're going to debit cash because it's an asset. And then that's $175. And then here it says that was a credit memorandum for collections. So we're going to be crediting accounts receivable to make them go down because they're an asset and the people don't owe us that money anymore. So we'll have $175 credit to accounts receivable. Now the next thing we have here is an error in recording check 648, and this is a debit, this is a less, so it's going to be a credit to accounts receivable because we want to cash because we want cash to go down. So we're going to be debiting equipment for $630, and they told us that the check 1468 was purchase for equipment, so we would debit equipment $630 and we would credit cash $630 to make cash go down by that amount because the check actually cleared for $700. And then the final adjusting entry is a debit to bank service charge expense for $15 and a credit to cash, make the expense go up, make the cash go down, and it would be $15. Now what I like what I like to do in a problem like this, when I'm working a problem like this, is I like to put in that $16,868 as a debit to cash, and then I want to post this debit to cash, this credit to cash, and this credit to cash, and I want to make sure I come to this number. So in real life, you don't have to wait because as soon as you're making these journal entries, the numbers are changing in the general ledger cash account, so you'll be seeing them because you'll be doing this on a computer and it'll be clearing those for you immediately, so you'll know when you get to this number. But in class, in a problem, we don't have these, and certainly on a test, we don't have those general ledger cash accounts, and it's only 4 entries, the beginning balance and the 3 entries, and then the ending balance. So 4 entries and then a calculation, and then you can see if it's done correctly. So that's what a bank reconcilement is. It's taking the bank statement and the information in the bank statement and making the changes to the bank statement that need to be made from the information that's in the general ledger in our work, and then taking the general ledger cash account and making the changes that they told us about from the bank statement. And then those two coming to an equal number, equaling one another. And then, as we see here, 16,398, 16,398. And then writing the journal entries so that the cash account equals the true cash, as they call it in this book. It's a small little problem, but I think it shows you what the source documents look like. I think it gets you in looking at a short list of check numbers, a short list of adjustments, deposits, a short list of one debit memorandum, one credit memorandum, so that you get to look at them and see what they look like. I think all of that, one error, so I think all of that is important for you to see. It gives you a good general overview of how a bank reconcilement works. So I hope you find this problem helpful. I hope it gets you immersed in the idea of a bank reconcilement, and that you can begin to see where all of these numbers come from as I point them out to you in these 2 statements. Thank you for joining me on this introduction to the introductory problem, this attempt to solve the introductory problem, looking at this solution to see what all the parts look like and how they go together. And you'll see another bank reconcilement on the comprehensive problem. I'll see you at the next video.